Hey guys, Dajixie bringing you a complete list of the massive amount of changes coming to the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is shaping up to be the ultimate way to play the trilogy moving forward. I'm surprised with just how much love has seemingly gone into what I assumed would only be a simple remaster. There's a ton to get through, so buckle up. Most notably is that all games will now run in 4K and will boast 60 frames a second or more. There have been significant upgrades to quality, with the first Mass Effect being almost completely remade graphically. You can see some of the changes playing now thanks to IGN, however there are other significant changes you'll want to know about. First up is combat tuning. The team wanted to make combat better across the whole series without changing what we loved about the titles. Here are the changes. First, in Mass Effect 1, the game was built around traditional RPG mechanics. Players found it frustrating to take a few shots with an assault rifle, for example, and suddenly have the reticule enlarged to span half a screen. Overall, the combat should feel, according to BioWare, much snappier. Weapons have been rebalanced, but also abilities. One example they provided was the immunity ability. If you remember, it provided passive buffs, but now it's an ability that grants a powerful defensive buff for a short period of time. In fact, there are quite a lot of individual changes to the first Mass Effect. Here are some of the rest. Shepard can now sprint out of combat. For those who remember, this was a constant frustration as backtracking became tedious and slow. Melee attacks are now mapped to a button press rather than automatically occurring based on proximity to an enemy, something that was a bit of a frustration as you'll be firing on an enemy in a distance, then be forced to melee as one got close. Weapon sway is removed from sniper rifles. This means that even non-sniper rifle based builds and classes can use snipers, be it less effectively, but at least they won't be completely worthless. All relevant enemies now take proper headshot damage. Previously some didn't, including humanoids. Ammo mods including anti-organic and anti-synthetic can now drop throughout the whole game. Previously these stopped dropping at higher player levels. They are also now available to be purchased from merchants. Typically this wasn't too much of a problem until you played New Game Plus and found yourself without access to a few useful mods. All weapons can be used by any class without penalty. As I mentioned, weapons like sniper rifles will be able to be used by anyone, be it not as effectively because specializations, which are the ability to train and upgrade certain weapons, are still class specific. Speaking of weapons, they seem to cool down much faster now, which slowed down combat your end artificially. Medigel usage has been improved by reducing base cooldowns. Their leveling benefits are also increased, as well as improving Liara's bonus to cooldowns. There are inventory management improvements, such as letting items be flagged as junk, a feature we are starting to see a lot more in modern games. What a welcome change. All junk items can be converted into Omnigel or sold to merchants all at once. Also, inventory and stores now have sorting functionalities. Some abilities have been rebalanced, making classes like the Adept a little better than they were at higher difficulties. Weapon powers, which are those that are unlocked on each weapon type skill tree, have been improved. For example, effectiveness and strength is increased, but in some cases duration reduced. Also, heat now resets on power activation, which will overall affect how you plan your damage cycle. You might shoot until you build up enough heat, then activate a power to dissipate it. Beyond general weapon and ability changes, BioWare made some specific changes to encounters, enemies, and how you engage in combat. They found a few opportunities to bring the first game in line with the second and the third, but they also found some systems across the whole trilogy that needed a tune-up. One such example is the boss encounter on Noveria. We all know the one. The room itself has been reworked to feel less claustrophobic and give you more room to maneuver away from biotic abilities. Here are some of the other changes. Squad mates can now be commanded independently of each other in the first Mass Effect, the same way you can command them individually in Mass Effect 2 and 3. In Mass Effect 2, this was especially useful in Insanity difficulty, so why not let them help you more than they do in the first? Some boss fights and enemies in the first game have been tweaked to be fairer for players, but still challenging. I personally didn't find myself struggling at all with the boss fights, but I understand some people's frustrations. Cover has been improved across the trilogy by adding additional cover to some encounters. Also, entering and exiting cover is more reliable, which is definitely welcome. Experience gained during the first game has been rebalanced for better consistency, especially towards the game's end. players who complete most aspects of the game should be able to more reliably get to higher levels on a single playthrough rather than needing to play through a second time to do so. Additionally, there is no longer a level cap on the first playthrough, though this mechanic did encourage players to start a new game plus to see the best gear and grow in levels. As a final gunplay change, BioWare also tweaked ammunition in Mass Effect 2. They found that ammo was spawning too scarcely, so they've increased the drop rate, particularly when using a sniper rifle, since that had a reduced ammo drop rate in the original. Infiltrators rejoice, as you won't need clip size increase mods to make a sniper only build viable. But of course, they've made changes to the infamous M35 Mako. Mass Effect 1 Mako has been calibrated to perform better. In the original game, the physics tuning for the Mako made it feel too light and bouncy, even at times becoming uncontrollable, but now it's a much smoother ride while being still lovable like before. I personally enjoyed how the Mako handled, and before you jump down my throat, just know that I understood it wasn't the best ride ever, but it just seemed like it was driving in low gravity, and I enjoyed that. Overall, its functionality has been improved with faster shield recharging and new thrusters added to the rear, allowing for a speed boost when you're inevitably trying to scale up the side of a near vertical cliff. This boost recharge is independent from the jump jets on the vehicle's underside, so you can use both at once or separately. Specifically, these are the calibrations you can expect to experience when driving the Mako. First, improved handling. Physics tuned to make it feel weightier and slide around less so it feels more like a tank. Improved camera controls by resolving issues preventing the Mako from accurately aiming at lower angles. The experience penalty while in the Mako has been removed, which is a much bigger change than it seems, as I would purposely jump out of the Mako and kill enemies on foot to get that juicy experience. Now, it's just easier to blow things apart from the comfort of the tank. Touching lava no longer results in an instant mission failure and deals damage over time instead, which is another huge change, essentially removing any of the challenge of maneuvering around. Not sure if I like this one, but at least it's there for those who hate the driving sections. The developers have also tried to unify the experience across the trilogy as best they can in numerous ways. Here are the things you can look forward to. New, a unified launcher for all three games, which includes trilogy-wide settings for subtitles and languages. However, saves are still unique to each game and can be managed independently of each other. There's unified Shepard's customization options in the character creator, and even some new options like additional skin tones and hairstyles. You can use the same character creator code across all three games, meaning your Shepard can now have consistent appearance across the trilogy, or you can choose to change the appearance at the start of each title. Customization options and character appearances have also been improved with updated textures and hair models. Femme Shep from Mass Effect 3 is the new default female option in all three games. The original Femme Shep's design is still available as a preset option. Achievements across the trilogy have been updated and new achievements have been added. Progresses for some of the achievements now carries over across all three games. For example, kill 250 enemies across all games. Achievements that were streamlined into one and made redundant were removed. A number of achievements have had their objectives, descriptions, and/or names updated. This will make the trilogy as a whole a more cohesive and complete single experience. Here's one I personally think is quite big. The weapons and armor DLC packs, all of them, are now integrated naturally into the game. They're obtainable via research or purchasing them from merchants as you progress through the game, rather than being immediately unlocked from the start. This ensures overall balance and progression across Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, which was sorely needed. I remember both Mass Effect 2 and 3's balance being thrown by having access to powerful armor at the start, which you never really needed to upgrade. However, the Recon Hood in Mass Effect 2 and the Cerberus Ajax armor in Mass Effect 3 are still available at the start of each game. Then there's additional gameplay and quality of life improvements, such as the audio being remixed and enhanced across all games, which is a huge boon, and hundreds of legacy bugs from the original releases are completely fixed. We'll also get native controller support and 21.9 display support on PC with DirectX 11 compatibility. Next is upgrades to the Galaxy at War feature, which made an appearance in Mass Effect 3 and has been rebalanced in the Legendary Edition. For For example, galactic readiness no longer is impacted by external factors that aren't part of the collection, like multiplayer or the old companion app for Mass Effect 3. However, that doesn't necessarily mean defeating the Reapers will be easy. The more content you complete across the entire trilogy, the more likely you'll be prepared for the final fights in its conclusion. If you only play Mass Effect 3, you'll have to do just about every option available in the game to be legible for the ending that doesn't result in massive galactic losses. Playing the first 2 games and carrying over your progress is the most reliable way to get good results in the final hours of the Reaper War. For comparison, if you previously played Mass Effect 3 with the extended cut, which included galactic readiness rebalancing, fully preparing for the final fight will be more difficult to achieve in the Legendary Edition. And on that note, the extended cut ending is now the game's default finale. Notably, there'll be a number of critical bug fixes and back-end improvements made to the Paragon Renegade systems in Mass Effect 2. They resolve some legacy issues that stopped accurate reputation stats from being displayed and outright prevented certain dialogue options from being selectable when they should have been. Because of this, key moments have been notoriously difficult to achieve in Mass Effect 2 and impacted Mass Effect 3 that can now be completed more reliably, leading to better results in the story's final act. So as you can see, there are a massive amount of changes to the titles to bring them together as the ultimate collection. This is not only a collector's item, but will be the best way to play the titles moving forward. What do you think? Are you picking up the Legendary Edition come release? Let me know below. Also, be sure to subscribe and like the video to support the channel. For everything Mass Effect, keep your eyes peeled to Slashed Antics. Ciao friends.